So I started in Garzon Media about 5 years ago. This is a company that we have with my wife. We basically joined the two last names. My last name is Garzon and her last name is InGarzon. So we put them together and we came up with the name. I had been looking to switch industries for the longest time. I taught tennis forever. That's how I came to this country. I was recruited to play tennis for a university. And I loved it, but it just became very physical. So I've been trying to find a different career and went to graphic design at Broward College. Graduated, I fell in love with photography, then fell in love with videography and decided to open a marketing agency. And then, throughout basically doing all this works, I had always dreamt about telling stories, and stories of truth. I'm not really crazy about science fiction. I have a thing for finding the truth and getting to the why. Did somebody do this, or not in a judgmental way, but in a way that we can understand, that we can put ourselves in your shoes to not think how you think, but to understand where your reaction came from or what your experience was like. Because you cannot understand anyone until you put yourself in their shoes. This is actually my first documentary, and I wanted to make it the greatest that I could. So I went through a lot of studying and I took a lot of courses on how to do documentaries. And I had the dream to do it, but I didn't know where to start. And so my life has been full of incredible serendipities. And I was doing a leadership program with the Hollywood Chamber. And then one of the days, they took us to meet some of the biggest nonprofits that have changed the life of Hollywood in Florida. And I happened to meet Jeanne. And I was sitting there while she was telling her story, and all of a sudden, my heart started beating so fast, and it's just like I got this download telling me this is what you want to document. This is your opportunity to get your bucket list item clicked. Just seeing how Jeanne poured herself out, how she opened up her heart to perfect strangers about all this personal things that have happened to her. Honestly, I was crying when I got out of the room, and my heart was just so happy and sad about what I was hearing that I just felt like I had to bring this, to fruition, but I didn't know how. I met Jeanne that same day outside. She had her bus with the showers parked, and she showed us the inside, and I was just like, I remember talking to her and hugging her and telling her, I will see you again, because you've definitely made an impact in my life. Your story has changed me. And I just kind of put it in the back of my mind. I'm like, how am I going to do this? And then I happened to meet Richard, the executive director of this documentary, also at the leadership program that we were doing. But I was really shy. He's a big person in Hollywood. He's a philanthropist that supports many causes. And so I talked to one of my friends from the leadership program that knew Richard better. And I was like, would he be interested in sponsoring something like this? And he's like, of course, he's done a few documentaries already. You should talk to him. So I got the phone number from him, and I gave him a call, and I wasn't expecting him to answer. And he picked up like in the second ring, and I was choking on the phone because I was expecting to leave a message and, never hear from him, but he picked up and he's like, "Hi," and I introduced myself, and he's like, "Yeah, I remember you." And so I pitched the idea to him, and I said, "Look, remember Jeannie when we met at this day at the leadership, and I would love to do a documentary on her life. Would you want to be involved with this?" And he's like, "Of course. When do we start, and how much do you need?" And I was just like, "Oh my God, really? Is it that easy?" So yeah, so that's how it was born. So it's been about a year. It was September or October of 2022 when I met Jeannie. And then finally, I think in January or February, I got the guts to talk to Richard. And then I went back to Jeannie and I said, "Okay, Jeannie, I have the means to do it. Would you do me the honor of letting me tell you a story?" And she was very open to the idea. She's like, "Of course." And we met at a restaurant in Wilton Manor, the place where I live. And I just, told her the big general idea of what I wanted to do. And she was so sweet, took me out to dinner and just like, "When do we get started?" So here I am with this huge project in my hands, never done anything like this, but full of ideas and excitement. And so I started kind of like mapping it, and so we met a few times and she told me the story a few times. And finally I said, "Let's just, come to my little studio in my home and sit down for me." I put a microphone on her, put a camera, and just said, "Tell me your story." And it was incredible because we did the whole thing in like 2 hours. She told me everything, and I felt I didn't want to push her too much because this is really deep and painful stuff. And so we were almost halfway through it, and I just said, "Jeannie, we can take a break and we can come back to it another day." And she was like, "No, no, 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 this is good. We keep going." We took a few minutes break and sat down, and the microphone was still going, the camera was still going, and I got the whole thing in a night. And then, here comes the process of putting all the B-roll on top. And I am so grateful that she was so gracious and available to come every time that I had a harebrained idea of let's get you on a motorcycle. You like a motorcycle? Let's get you filming. And so here's my wife with me, in the car in this park, and Jeannie's in the motorcycle, and I'm like, sitting next to the door, almost falling, and I was like, "Let's do it again." And here come, the whole experience was really cool to, to like live my dream of being like a big Hollywood producer making all these films. And every single part that we filmed, it's been about a year and a half in the making of this. And so it was like, a Saturday here, a Friday there, let's go meet. I wanted to make it as real as we could without being intrusive. So I wanted to see a lot of the real places where things happened, like the house where Jeannie was born, and where Jeannie was so gracious to find who lives there now, and so we went and filmed some scenes there. The place where she still lives in Davie, so it was perfect because it tells the story of how Florida has changed, from when she was little to now. And so, it's like building a documentary is a very slow process of like putting one little piece together and then another little piece and filming, just editing one scene at a time. And even though I've listened to it a million times, I still get tear eyes, every time that I listen to her story, because it's just so incredible. And it needed to be told, and I'm so grateful that she allowed me to do this. So. So So filming a lot of the scenes with Jeanne and listening to what she was saying, it was, a lot of them were very painful and very difficult to hear. And a lot of times I felt like I was being intrusive, filming her when she was crying, like I wasn't respecting the pain that she was going through. But then I realized that I'm in a position where I need to show this, and she chose me to show this. So I just stood there with my camera outward while she was, going back in time, remembering these painful moments. And I got chills every time that she was talking about all these things that happened. And I like she says always, I want to give people a pair of glasses so that they can see the world through somebody else's eyes. I never expected this business relationship to become a personal relationship, and he is such an open book. Um, and he has shared his whole life with me and with Jeanne. I always joke in my head that I picture the three of us like the three musketeers because we get along so well, and we definitely vibrate in the same frequency. He's all about the truth and helping and the less fortunate. And I love that resonates a lot with me. So after, he gave me the check to start working on the documentary, I started meeting with him and, on more of a personal basis, and he wanted to be involved in a lot of the things that we were filming, which is perfect because, you want input from the people that are involved in your project. And so the relationship turned into a bigger business relationship with him because he has his own foundation and he wanted to start his own thing. And so I went up to him and I said, hey, I've always loved working with small nonprofits. Would you be interested in doing marketing or giving some grants to the small nonprofits through me? Because I would love to, do videos, websites and stuff. And he's like, great, I've been looking for someone like you my whole life. And so we connected that way. And so we've been working for almost a year now, helping small nonprofits tell their story so that, they can go get grants. And, with a video is so much easier. For someone to know your story, to establish trust and legitimacy about your mission. So it just like him, it keeps going and going. Yeah, what was that? So one of the most beautiful things that have transpired out of creating this documentary have been, number one, my relationship with Jeanne and my relationship with Richard, because this was the first project, but this is definitely not the last. I'm heavily involved with Jeanne now and her Shower in Love organization, doing marketing and help her get to the next level. And the same thing with Richard. And one of the new projects that we did with Richard was create an actual studio to film all the projects that we're looking to film for this small nonprofits. So we now have a place where we can film that's called the Quadracci Family Studios. That's 5 minutes from my house, very convenient. And it's got all the toys that we need to film, all the lights, cameras, and again, it's another bucket list checked that it's gonna make our life easier to capture all the stories and to get the message across. So this documentary definitely opened up my life to fulfilling my dreams. There is definitely a ripple effect that happens when you tell people's stories, because somebody has been through this and it resonates with them, and it's amazing how you touch people. You think they're just watching, but we're all connected in some way. And we love to hear that we're not by ourselves in some of the stuff that has happened. And it's just reassurance that it's okay. You know, we're all human and things happen. There's trauma in everybody's life. And so through connecting, you know, by connecting through stories, it makes us realize that we're not that different, you know, to each other.